Alrighty, Tim. I'm ready whenever you are, mate.
Hello and welcome, everyone. We are live after the final siren of round 3 for the AFL Fantasy Fanatics podcast for season 2024. I'm your host and AFL Fantasy Fanatic, Tim Guest, and you can find me on socials at TimGuestAU. It is Sunday, the 1st of April. Hope everyone had an amazing Easter. I'm sure we're a little fatter after eating way too much chocolate. But of course, you can find us live on X and on YouTube. So if you're listening to us on the podcast, try and join us next time. Join us live, whether you're on X or whether you're on YouTube. Come and have a listen, get your questions in and get them answered. And of course, if you're listening live to us tonight, thanks for joining us. And of course, make sure you comment on those platforms to name a player that you want discussed or a question that you want asked. And if we don't cover it during the show, we'll discuss them for you before we wrap up. Now, of course, joining me, as always, is my co-host, one of the hardest working men in fantasy football. It's Bales, DT. Bales, how you feeling after round 3, mate? I can't hear you, mate. Are you on mute?
Yeah, I'm on mute in the Twitter space. People saying it's an echo on the YouTube, which is I don't know, bad echo, fellas. Okay, we got technical issues. I don't know what's going on here.
Taking a leaf out of the Ball Boys Fantasy podcast.
Hang on a second. I'll get rid of that.
All right.
I don't know if
you do that. You do that.
Yeah,
let me introduce our guest. So one half of the Plus 6 podcast, and of course, the Jeppa's Juniors expert, our rookie expert. It's Jeppa, mate. How are you? Good to join us. And how you feeling after round 3?
Thanks, Guesty. Yeah, all good. Round 3, I don't know. Okay, not the greatest score, but not the worst score by any stretch. So
is it moving in the right direction, mate?
It is, yeah. All the ranks are moving in the right direction. A bit slower than I'd like, but we've got some work to do.
Kick us off. Walk us through your score, mate, and how you ranked at the moment.
So 1919, and I'm ranked round numbers 19,000, 18,900, thereabouts. So look, it's a slow burn. I am one of those coaches that does have the Gawn, Grundy, Cherry combo, and I think, picking it all apart, that is suffering or making me suffer a little bit. But pretty good trades this week. Newcomb and Wines to Powell and Steele, so pretty happy there, but like I said, got work to do with some underperforming mid-prices.
Well, just on that, mate, just on the fact that you've got Grundy, Gawn and Cherry, I know you said it's probably making you suffer a bit, but how do you feel about your decision to go that way? Are you kind of, is the verdict still out? Is it, or are you confident now, especially with Grundy had a good score on the weekend?
Yeah, it's hard to say. It would tell, like, maybe ask me after round 7.
Yeah.
Let's see where it poises there, because I'm holding it for that, and I'm hoping for a bit of carnage, obviously, in those weeks, and covering that ruck by Ruckman instead of just like nilling the score with many just going to take the 3 worst scores off and copying Barnett. I'll be taking the 4 worst scores. So we'll see what happens there. It's too early to tell. Like, for me, it was more about the cash gen than anything.
Yeah.
And then, Grundy bounced back with another ton, so you can't really ask much more than that. So, look, I have looked at when the time comes to, like, do those massive upgrades to the midfielders, like the Tom Greens and those kind of players. It's going to be pretty easy going Grundy down, or whoever I decide to go down straight up, and then having more cash at bank to do it the week after. So, look, I'm happy with the decision because all 3 are earning cash. All 3 are scoring relatively well. I mean, Grundy had that glitch game of 53, which wasn't ideal against his old mob Collingwood. But other than that, it's gone to plan.
Yeah, and look, I mean, maybe running on the similar kind of line as what you were thinking. I mean, I thought that, I went more of a cash gen strategy for this year as well, and I was wondering whether it was a bad idea, particularly after the first couple of weeks. But, I mean, this week, once again, you had a 19-19. A 1900 is a good score to have for best 18. I don't think I got hurt as much as I expected to get hurt this week with that kind of cash gen strategy. So, I'm feeling a bit better about it than I was a couple of weeks ago. But let's turn to Bales, mate. You back with us now, mate?
Apparently the echo's coming on your end, Tim. That's what a few people are saying. There's an echo for yours, but whatever. So I'll just put it in the chat. But Yeah, so my round had a pretty good round. Had a 1976, so that put me at a rank of 5,847. So that was up about 12,000 spots again. So which I'm really happy with. Round rank of 3,833. So yeah, really, really happy with the round. And just looking forward to hopefully continuing the rise up in the ranks to hopefully crack sort of the top 5K and go towards the top 2,500.
Yeah, that's great, mate. That is an awesome score. And I'm looking at the Content Creators Cup League here, and there's a few scores in the 2000s. So great job.
Thank you very much. Just while Tim's just fixing, apparently people are saying there's a echoing and everything. So maybe we might not be able to do that. Maybe people just have to watch. I might have to do like a replay of the YouTube live on like YouTube tomorrow or something. But we'll keep pushing through anyway, regardless. So apologies for any technical difficulties on the YouTube, but the Twitter space is still fine. So maybe head over there if it's echoing too much. Oh, Tim's on mute.
There you go. Let me try again. Here we go. After a great start, aren't we? All right. What about me? I scored a 1993, so I'm pretty happy with that score, especially like I was saying with the way that my team is kind of shaped up. That moved me up into now just above 8,000. So to start, what was I, 37,000, and in 2 weeks, kind of come inside, the 30,000s, and now to be inside of the top 10,000, I'm very happy with that movement in the right direction. Look, feeling relatively confident about my side. Still got a few changes obviously to make, but I think made the right moves during the fix-up trades and ready to just about enter, upgrade season. All right. Well, what about Bales? We'll go back to you, mate, for +3, -3.
Yep. So my +3, I've got to give it to Big Maxi Gawn. I'm really just when I didn't put the captaincy on him. I was looking at putting it was either him or Dawson VC. And I went Dawson VC. Actually, funny enough, my top 6 scorers, all 4 of them went. 4 of the 6 went over 120, but I picked the 2 that went under. So, but yeah, Gawn was fantastic. He was definitely going to get, I think, the 3 votes in that game. He was everywhere. Kicked that big goal right in the 3/4 time to sort of really get Melbourne close. So, and he's just going along really nice. That's 2 big scores out of 3 games, and all 4 games actually for Melbourne now. So, he'd get my +3, -3. Oh, geez, it almost had to go to Bont's second and third quarter. That just was awful. I went from being so happy at quarter time. Bont was on 37. I'm like, here we go. We're on for a big one here. Then he put up, what was it? I think he had 7 points in the second quarter and 10 points in the third quarter, something like that. And he was on 57 at quarter time. And I was like, well, 3/4 time, I was like, great, here we go. We're going to have a stinker. But he saved it really, really well. So, yeah. I've got to give it probably to, I can't really give it to 2 quarters. So I'll give it to Zach Williams with a 60. Not quite what we wanted. So he gets it for me.
Yeah, it looks like a couple of people might be looking to get off him next week or maybe when we get into the best 18 or something like that. But what about you, Jep? How'd you go with your +3, -3?
+3 would go Nick Martin. Called the VC early but didn't listen to my own advice, which is not the first time. And, he went on a tear. So did really well. I didn't think St Kilda would put much time into him and let him do his thing. And I don't think many teams will because he's obviously not the best ball user in the world. So 145, which was great. -3 was Jack Billings. That trade-in last week didn't work, or 2 weeks ago didn't work. And, he'll be gone for me this week as a result. So tried to jump on the cash gen early, assuming he'd still go 80 average from the 140, and that hasn't worked out at all. So,
and he was subbed as well, right?
Pardon?
He was subbed as well, wasn't he?
Probably, yeah, he was, yeah. So we'll be aborting shit pretty quickly and seeing what else we can do with it.
All right. Well, look, my could have gone the same for you as well, mate. I could have gone a +3 with Nick Martin there. I hate to say that I panicked. We were in the pre-lockout chat. We were talking about Nick Martin. You hopped off. Everyone was talking about Sheasel. I panicked on Saturday morning and I changed the VC to Sheasel. So I hopped off Nick Martin as a VC, but, can't be too dissatisfied with obviously the way Sheasel went. But I will give my +3 to Riley Bonner. So another, plus 120 score, which is just absolutely fantastic for obviously me in terms of his cash gen and also having that score on field. And then my -3 quite easily is Christian Salem at 52. I mean, those scores are just absolutely stinking it up. And, I'll definitely be looking to make a move on him this week. So he'll probably be my way to, a big forward line upgrade or something along those lines. Well, that's our +3, -3s. We're going to quickly just update the results in the Content Creators Cup before we get into the games. So just quickly, the AFL Fantasy Content Creators Cup, proudly brought to you by Infinite Wealth. Make smarter financial decisions, where winning coaches will get $5,000 for their favourite charity. And just a reminder, there's something special for every coach available too. Head across to infinitewealth.com.au/AFL Fantasy to claim your free financial freedom masterclass and a stack of tools and resources to help you make smarter financial decisions. If you have a mortgage, I'll teach you how to pay it off up to 3 times faster. If you're paying too much tax, I can teach you how to save thousands each year. If you're someone who's committed to being financially free, then I can show you how I bought 13 properties by the age of 27. Just head across to infinitewealth.com.au/AFL Fantasy. So let's firstly kick it off. I mean, the talk of the town has got to be this, Bales. You're undefeated in the Content Creators Cup. Is that right?
That is, mate. 3 from 3. Very, very happy.
After Bales the buyer last year, you're undefeated to kick off this year, mate.
Yeah. After a start last year that I sort of was in the bottom 4 from the get-go and never really got going. Whereas this year, we started off well. I was a bit nervous with the matchup against Hef. Bont really came through and saved me with the captaincy in the last quarter. So, because if he didn't do that, I would have lost. So, shout out to Bont at least for that last quarter. But very, very happy and sitting in top 4, which is nice.
And who else is undefeated?
I believe DC, if there's no late update, obviously with your matchup. Obviously, that was a pretty close one. Mini Monk, surprise, and I believe Roy as well. I think they're the 4 left. I think Mitch went down to Holmesy with Dempsey coming through for Holmesy, I think. So
well, let's just quickly review the scores, right? So Warn Dog beat Luke from the Ball Boys, pretty reasonable margin there. Nath went down to you, Jeppa, pretty close one there, 19-11 and 19-19. Just a shout out to Warnie, actually, going back 20-28. That's a massive score for a best 18 week. Louis beat John Harmey. They're both from Pod. And then Roy he won over Statesman by, once again, 5 points. So we had some really close matchups this week. Rids beat Calvinator pretty convincingly there. Like you said, Holmesy beat Mitch. Then Mini Monk beat Dunk. Mini Monk's getting a good start to the year as well. MJ took out Zach. I got pipped by DC by 2 points. I'm still fingers crossed, hoping for a late update. So Champion Data, see if you can do something across there. And
looks
Bales,
like those scores are finalised.
Damn it! But look, let's do a quick. I'm going to do a quick ranking update, right? So this there's subject to adjustment because obviously there might be some late updates and all that kind of stuff. But Holmesy is currently overall ranked 752. DC is 930. So 2 coaches inside the top 1,000. Great start to the year. Rids at 2418. Mitch at just under 3,000 at 2942. Mini Monks at 3619. Calvinator 3637. Statesman 4573, so a bunch of coaches now inside the top 5,000. Bales, mate, they're just inside the top 6,000 at 5847. We've got Nath from Obermullets there, 6185. Harmy is at 7284. Warn Dog 7646. I'm at 8,390. What do we got? Oh my God. MJ, just under 9,000. Mighty Oxlongs, Luke's inside the top 10,000. I might just limit this to the top 8 or something next time. Big Hoofers, who's that? Oh my God. Can't even picture it. Top. That's 10,000.
That is
Hef. We got Jeppa, 18,912. We got Hot Cherry Peppers. Oh my God, that's Louis, is it? 19401. And then Dunkley's Donuts at 24,306. So after some pretty bad starting ranks, everyone's kind of started to creep in towards those top ranks. So we'll certainly see how things play out over the next couple of weeks. But all right, let's get stuck into our games. Hey, let's kick it off with the first game of the week. Brisbane defeated by Collingwood by 20 points at the Gabba. Kyle Lohman was the sub, so just be mindful of those if you're thinking about bringing in who replaced Devon Robertson in the fourth quarter. Also, Jack Crisp, man, sub there for Collingwood. No one really saw that coming. And once again, Finn McRae was the one subbed out, so he's not having much luck at the start of the year as being the sub. But over to you for some players there, Bales.
Yeah, cool. What we'll do actually as well, just because people were still saying there's still this echo, what we'll do, I'll just, whenever someone is speaking, take yourself off mute, but we'll put ourselves on mute, see if that works. But if it doesn't, everyone that's complaining in the chat, apologies. I'll just re-upload this as a pod later on tonight or tomorrow for anyone that wants to listen back. So just if you don't like the reverb, head over to the Twitter space, but we're going to continue with the Twitter space. We don't have time to be fixing it. So first game, Brisbane and Collingwood. So Dane Zorko, 102. Getting it done. Good score again. I think it's probably risky at this point just with the injuries. Josh Dunkley got a 101 as well. And Finn McRae were subbed out, unfortunately, on 31. So, but Lockie Neal, Jep, so 118 points. Looked good in his first game back from injury. And he's sort of that typical player that we look at as a guy that's dropped a bit in value and could be an option that we consider. What did you make of his game on Thursday night? And is he a guy that you might be looking at?
Yeah, it was quite suited to him. I thought it was more of a contested game than probably Collingwood would have liked. And, yeah, he came to the forefront. That first round score of 75 still in his calcs from opening round. So I'd wait another week or two. He does have North this week, though. So that would be handy and interesting, given that Brisbane really need a win and to get going in the right direction. But not for me.
Yeah, he's definitely one that I'll potentially be looking at over the next few weeks. But yeah, Nick Dacos, Tim, 101. Obviously got the Finn tag this week. Finn didn't play this week, so coaches might be thinking maybe he's not going to get the tag, but I think he will be. Would you be trading him out, the fact that he's got the bye the week after?
I don't know. I really haven't thought about this probably too much, but I think the thing is that you're probably going to want to bring him in. So I'm not sure that you're going to want to get off now. I think if you wanted to get off, maybe last week was the week to do it. But look, 101, you can't be too disappointed with a 101. I mean, I think the experiment or the kind of argument about what was better to do, start Nick Dacos or not start Nick Dacos, I think we've kind of answered that now. But look, he's in your side. I don't think you want to be trading him out, and you might get stuck trying to trade him back in. So I think you just got to hold fast and keep going.
Finn McGuinness had 28 touches and a goal in the VFL just yesterday, I believe. Yep.
So it didn't do his chances of a recall any harm.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think he's locked to be coming in this week. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens this weekend. But that is it from that game, Tim. We'll move on to Good Friday.
Yeah, well, North defeated by Carlton by 56 points at Marvel Stadium. Coleman Jones did his Achilles there. Poor guy looked like he got shot. And then Marchbank had a head knock and Kerno did his ankle. So subs here, Eddie Ford, probably no surprise that he was going to be the sub there, replaced Callum Coleman Jones in the second quarter. And Fantasia replaced Corey Durden at three-quarter time.
So we'll move to Harry Sheezer, 126. He was massive, had another big day. Plenty of people went him as the VC out there. George Hewitt, unfortunately, for a lot of those people I know, Jet owned him. 107, of course, the week post the bye when everyone traded off of him. So he went big. Tristan Sherry, 83, was solid. 5 free kicks against, so I wouldn't be looking too much into that lower score. I think he was still fine. LDU, McKercher and Newman all scored 77, Lazaro with the 55, and then Dersma and Pink with some low scores there with a 32 and a 20. But Tom Power, Tim, was very, very good. Another game, another ton. I said last week that there's a chance he could actually be the potentially a top 6 forward because of the lack of options that we've got, and I certainly didn't see anything from him on the weekend to say otherwise. Do you think for those coaches that maybe didn't jump on him this week, could you jump on him this week? Is it too late?
I think you absolutely could jump on him this week, but I wasn't quite as impressed. I mean, obviously finished with a pretty high score, but didn't have a great start to the game. I think he was only on about 32 or 34 points or something like that by about half time. But I think he came out and smashed out about a 44-point quarter at 3 in the third quarter, and then finished strongly as well. So, look, obviously finished the game pretty strong. I didn't get to see the entire game, but yeah, I think he's definitely got that midfield spot there, and with the lack of options we've got in the forward line, I think he's a good player to bring in. Priced, he's going to be over 600, I think, this week, but I think still, priced at good value.
Yeah, I agree. He really impressive. Zach Williams, 60, and Zach Fisher, 76. Jep. Zach Williams probably the bigger concern out of the two for me. But have you got concerns over both of those guys, and are they potential trade outs for you?
Yeah, Fisher's probably one of those highly owned mid prices you could jump off early and try get a leg up. Although I think, his scores are pretty solid for 70, 75. So the game needs to be worked through, whether you bring in another forward like Flanders, it could be a 20-point upside, like something like that. Williams is an interesting one. He blew up again fitness-wise. That last quarter he was hurting. So not great for his scores. I'm an owner. And look, I kept him to try get Howes off my ground for this week, which I'm sure plenty of coaches are worried about, those that have got Howes at D6. So, hoping Williams comes good. I believe, it's Freo at Adelaide Oval, so that should be okay for some +6s in the back half.
Yeah, hey, Bales, I was going to ask, because we were talking the other night, and you made a really good point about Zach Williams. I thought you should probably share that.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah, so the thing I was thinking behind Williams, and a bit the same with Massimo, is that because this week's the only week we got best 22, and we're going to get all the DPPs post the first week post best 18. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to hold Williams and Massimo. We'll talk about him a bit later as well, but hold those guys for a couple of weeks. They just got to get one good score this week, heading into best 18 2 weeks, and then you can trade one of them to a premium midfielder if you can get up there, because you'll be able to flick back McKercher, Roberts, Bonner if you still got him, Zach Fisher potentially as a forward there. So you'll be able to flick a fair few guys back there. So, and Nick Martin as well. So I'm probably going to look at holding those guys. I don't know if you boys agree with that, or if you guys should be getting off regardless, but that's sort of just where I'm thinking with the guy like Zach Williams at the moment.
Yeah, I'm definitely doing that, mate. I can't wait for these DPPs to kick through, because, again, in my plan in my head is to, Massimo up, part of another mid-primo, same with Williams, exactly that talking to. So, they're not going anywhere with me or for me, especially this week again. Like, the wet weather didn't play to favour to Massimo, and I'm hoping Williams comes good. That one, he was probably due for an 80 this week and didn't come to fruition, but never mind.
Yeah, I think the final point I'll make about it is I think our big risk at the moment is F5, F6. If people are playing two rookies on field in the forward line, great, you had a Dempsey this week, but you also had a 35 from Darcy Wilson, a 43 from Harley Reid, and only a 55 from Charlie Lazaro. So, it seems like there is where some coaches could be getting exposed, and this is where other people could be getting up. So rather than, messing around with the defensive line, you might be better off moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful. Well, we'll move on to the other game, Freo defeated Adelaide. Next game, we'll move past this one.
Yeah, you're not very happy about this one, eh, mate? Freo defeating Adelaide by 35 points at Optus Stadium. Malia hurt his knee. I don't really know the extent of that.
Cell tendon, out for the season.
There you go. And then for subs, Jaeger O'Meara was replaced by Tom Emmett at three-quarter time, and Lachlan Murphy was replaced by Luke Pedler in the third quarter.
Yep. Yeah, just a shit show for the Crows. Caleb Sarong, though, was very, very good once again. He's just a different beast this year. 118, he was great. Luke
Not
Ryan,
a slow start, though. Had a slow start.
Yeah, but he just showed how good he is. Like, even with a slow start, just was able to still get to a good score. Luke Ryan's had a very impressive start to the year. I was pretty keen. I was a bit keen on the preseason. I just sort of didn't want to start him. I thought Shees was a better pick, which he has. But Luke Ryan's someone I'm going to look at with Freo's game style. Rory Laird, 102. Dawson, 100. Both getting the job done in a sense. Dawson a little bit under probably what I would have wanted. Jordan Clark, 97. Crouch, 95. Luke Jackson, 88. With Darcy sort of near return, potentially. Coach will have to have that in the back of their mind. Andy Brayshaw, only 84, still sort of splitting that wing midfield time. So that's, if anyone's got him, you're probably jumping off at this point. Jeremy Sharp got a 63 with a big third quarter, I believe it was, and Burgess even got a 49, which not the worst. So, but I want to talk about Hayden Young, Jep. So a lot of people jumped off of Hayden Young this week, and I was sort of a bit not comfortable with jumping off him because of the easier matchup against North. I thought this matchup was going to fit him to a T, and boy, did he perform, didn't he?
Yeah, he was great. Hit all stat lines, 8 marks, 7 tackles amongst his 32 disposals. So, yeah, he is going to be a bit of an ad hoc fill-in. I thought early on he sort of tried to go with Dawson and just, cool him a bit, as Pete loves to say, to cool the role. And then got on the end of it and sort of got a roll on his confidence as well. So maybe he's a bit of a confidence player, but next week it wouldn't surprise me if that score drops down to another 75 or something like that because of an as required role, especially with Carlton. But in saying that, now that I know it is Carlton, bigger bodies in the midfield, he'd probably be required amongst the contested stuff.
Yeah. No, he was fantastic on the weekend. Nat Fyfe, Tim, 61. A poorer score again, a lot of handballs. So it's a bit hard with the full on because there's not as many options. But I guess with Flanders off by, is he a guy that you'd be happy to move off to, a guy potentially like a Flanders?
Once again, I think you're going to be hard pressed. Like I said, I think the risk we've got is those rookies. So even with a James Jordan and Nat Fyfe, Jack Billings. I mean, a lot of these players they've had the sub in the last or this week or been the sub in the last couple of weeks. They're certainly going to be a risk. But and of course they're not making cash. But yeah, they would have coaches worried in that forward line. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Once again, what was it? 21 disposals, 15 of them handballs. I mean, this is the kind of thing that we were a little bit worried about with Nat Fyfe. I mean, I think he got something like 9 or 10 clearances for the game, but so many handballs and not much else to fill the stat lines, and scored a 61.
He had the exact same handballs and kicks in the first game of the year, but he had 7 tackles, which meant it was an 86 or whatever. Whereas this week, only had a couple of tackles, meant it was a 61. So, yeah, unfortunately, not a great score from him. Moving on to Saturday.
All right, yeah. So Essendon defeated St Kilda by 4 points at Marvel Stadium. So Will Setterfield was a late change here and was replaced by Harrison Jones. Durham injured his shoulder and a bit of a crunching tackle there. And, of course, in terms of subs, Nick Hind was replaced by Sam Durham in the third quarter, and Angus Hastie was replaced. So Hastie was that debutant, was he a 200K defender debutant, was replaced by Cooper Sharman at three-quarter time. And then for those who may have brought in Marcus Windhager last week, unfortunately he's been offered a one-match ban for a bump on Sam Durham.
Yeah, and personally, I think it should have been maybe 2 or 3, but that's for another podcast. Jack Steele, 124. He again, another third week in a row, he's just looked great. So 124. He's getting those marks, which is a great thing for him. Ryan Marshall responded with a big score of 117. Merritt got a 110. Darcy Parish 104. So both the Essendon mids going well. Sinclair another 99, so go down a little bit more in price, so someone to keep an eye on. Gavin, your mate Tim, had a bit of a quieter day, only the 71 there. I didn't see if you got any attention or anything, but lower score for him. Marcus Windhager with the 60 and Darcy Wilson a low score of 35. But, Jep, the top scorer and the guy that was arguably the most impressive of the round, Nick Bloody Martin, 39 disposals in 3 quarters, and we say he had a quiet last quarter, but still 145. I think that's a lot more than what we expected, even in the preseason. So, what did you make of Nick Martin's game on the weekend?
Yeah, it was fantastic. Look, just running around, getting free, no real opponent, doing what he wants. So, dream for fantasy coaches that aid him, which all of us pretty much do. But yeah, interestingly, he was the second highest meters gained for the game. The highest was Riley Bonner with over 1,000 meters gained with all these long comms. So a lot of coaches, he did turn it over a fair bit, but at the same time, he's kicking it 60 meters from the square from a point. So I think those do count as turnovers when they go to the opposition. So look, I would think Bonner holds his spot, but Ross the Boss has done stranger things. So let's see what happens there because his cash gen's pretty important. And yeah, Jack Sinclair still got to a 99. So it seems like the 3, Sinclair, Bonner, and Wangan Miller, they they can all coexist. But this week Miller had 71. So, and obviously he had 112 or whatever it was last week. So 122 actually. So it's going to be a bit of a seesaw week to week maybe with those three, but Bonner owners will be pretty happy with his cash gen.
Yep, exactly. Well, he was the exact next player I was going to talk to you about, Tim. Riley Bonner, 127. He's pretty good, but as Jaden put up the tweet on the weekend, fantasy-wise, is that he had the most turnovers by a player in a game since 2012 with 17 of his 32 touches. But a few people did make some good points saying that a lot of his kicks were actually down the line and might be intercept mode. He did turn the ball over, obviously, a few times, but I guess it's a good score for him regardless. So,
look, I'm not worried. I mean, even there was that soundbite that the Traders played last week that Ross the Boss was talking about how, and I think he may have even been talking about Riley Bonner, where he was saying that he doesn't judge players on, like single decisions, and it's more about the long term of view. And I think there's plenty of valid points there about long kicks down the line. I'm not worried about that. The thing that I'm more worried about. And I'll actually probably bounce this back to Jeppa in a second about whether people could still consider bringing Riley Bonner in. But the only flag that I would put on those St Kilda halfbacks is next week is Norwood, the week after is Marnica. And they are both not grounds that are necessarily that friendly to halfbacks. So we might see a little bit of, we might see some fluctuation in scoring over the next couple of weeks. But yeah, Jep, on Bonner, do you think coaches, he's going to be priced at what, still under $600,000. Do you think coaches can still bring him in, or is the ship sailed?
No, you can still bring him in. He's going to be priced at $600,000, which makes him priced at about 69-ish, and with a break even of 13 or thereabouts. So, yeah, that's still probably 20. I think he's a 90 average player at minimum. So you're still getting the upside. Still got defender status too. So I'm a non-owner, and I'm going to consider it this week more for the defender status later in the season, and sort of just floating him between D5 and D6 with him and Yo and whatever else. And when you think about it, McKirch is there and Roberts as well, but they're rookie price players. McKirch is a first-year player. Roberts, who knows what's going to happen when. And what happens to his role when Mills and that come back. So, thinking longer term with Bonner, there's a bit of appeal. So, I'm all for it.
He might end up being that kind of car winning pick for the year.
Yeah, potentially.
It's got to be. I think that those that started with him is definitely going to plan. So it was looking shaky last week, and there were a few coaches that jumped off weirdly, but. Yeah, it's definitely going to plan as a mid-pricer.
Cool. All right, let's move to the next game. Port Adelaide defeated by Melbourne by 7 points at Adelaide Oval. Boak got hurt there with a bit of a head knock. And in terms of subs, Jace Burgoyne replaced Francis Evan in the third quarter, and Taj Boywoden replaced Jack Billings in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, so really good game this one, actually. Really good to watch. I was at the game, and yes, Port fans, the umpiring was atrocious. So I do agree with you with that one. Matt Scorn, 146 was massive, huge score for him. But a lot of lower scores in this game from players that you'd expect them to go better. So Rosie was okay with a 99. Obviously, you wanted to go 100 plus, but you take that. Clayton Oliver, 94. Good for all us non-owners. He's going to drop a considerable amount of cash still. He's probably going to be about 900K post his buy, and he's going to be a guy we're going to look at definitely. Ollie Wines, 88. Not too bad. He's put back-to-back 88s there, so you take that as well. Petrarca, 83, a bit low. Same with Butters with a 79, a bit low as well. Christian Salem, I'm glad I jumped off him this week. 0 point opening quarter, and he was on like sub 20 at halftime or something. So not great showing from him. Marty Hall with a 50, that was okay. Caleb Windsor, 38 as well, so lower score from him. But the two we need to speak about, I think. So Jack Billings, Tim, a few people got him on field, obviously, with a 30. He's got the Crows, then I think Brisbane, then his buy. Are you happy enough to jump off now with that 30?
I would ask Jep, mate. He's got him, not me. So I think you probably know better than me.
Yeah, Jep, jumping off?
Yeah, no, jumping off. You got to. With the red vest, it's a signal. There were, again, when obviously we all watch our fantasy players a bit closer than what we do other players. And I was just noticing, there was so many times it was kicked to him over his head or short or whatever, or he didn't get it when he should have got it, which was a bit interesting to me. But nevertheless, he goes. I think Howes at D6 is a huge risk because he played lockdown on Willie Rioli and the smaller type. So that was interesting. He didn't get freed up as much as he had in the past. And, so there's a few red flags for both those players.
Well, yeah, Tim, that was the exactly the next player I was going to talk to you about with Howes. Those coaches that have got him at D6, especially with the best 22 this week, would you be almost making that a priority, try and get him off field? Because he has got another tough matchup against normally a restrictive Crows.
Yeah, look, I mean, probably, but it's going to depend on who your options are this week. I mean, look, this is an interesting, I guess, point to make about the game. Like, we were kind of wondering 2 weeks ago whether guns and rookies was the strategy, and now we're seeing that we're being exposed by poor rookie scores in the forward line, poor rookie scores in the defensive line not that many coaches, I think, were running Blake Howes at D6, but it became an option after the first couple of weeks. So, look, it's I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm still not going to make a call about which way it's got to go. I mean, obviously we've got a best 22 week coming up this week, and then another couple of best 18 weeks. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the season plays out. Look, if you can. I mean, 23 would be certainly concerning, but we've also seen him score pretty well compared to other rookies as well, averaging 60. I don't know. I think it's going to depend on if you can get him to someone. I mean, who are you going to get him to now? What? Get him to Zach Williams? Get him to Massimo? I mean, maybe Mass is still an option, but I don't think coaches would have been too impressed with his 60 on the weekend. But like Jep said, that would have been heavily weather affected. But yeah, who are you going to go to?
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. So. Yeah, beautiful. Move on to the Sunday games.
As we turn our attention to the Sunday games, just a reminder, if you're joining us on X or YouTube, to let us know your questions. If you're still listening to YouTube, I don't know if we've still got that echo going on or what. But if you are, please let us know your questions by commenting on those platforms, and we'll make sure that we get through them all when we finish these last three games. All right, next game, Western Bulldogs defeating West Coast. Hang on, just move along. Same joke as you, Bales. I don't want to talk about this game. Brockman was concussed. Caleb Poulter was subbed. The subber was replaced. Tom Liberatore at three-quarter time, and Luke Edwards was replaced. Tyler Brockman and three-quarter time as well.
Yeah, cool. So Liam Duggan has had a couple of good scores after a poor round one. So he's someone that could be an underpriced guy that we keep an eye on over the next few weeks. Marcus Bonampelli, I'll probably come back to him in a second just to get your quick thoughts at the end when we finish this game. But 103 from him, had two big quarters, but two really bad quarters. Tim English, 98, a little bit down probably from what coaches would have wanted from him, especially in a great matchup. And those coaches that went in captain, not too great. Riley Sanders, 85. He's going to be an absolute gun. 85 was a pretty solid score. Caleb Daniel and Jack McRae got 75 each. So probably just two guys just to monitor as forwards because of the lack of options, but you're not really heavily considering them at the moment. Harley Reader, 43. A quiet game from Harley, but we're going to get those up and down games. And Dogs, especially as a midfielder, is a bit tougher as well. Elliot Yeo, though. So I'll go to Tim's this one because I'll go to the next player to Jep. So Tim, Elliot Yeo with a 108. A few people worried after round one, but it sort of just shows, again, you sort of got to take a few weeks to see how these players are looking. And Yo's put back-to-back pretty solid scores up. So what were your thoughts on his game?
Beast. Great pick. I mean, I think, look, going back, obviously he had that low score, that 70 score against Port Adelaide, but we know Port Adelaide are restrictive. And I think the other thing to mention, what's the stat? What do they call it? Market share. I know that's a stat that's
Ron.
Yeah, more coaches are starting to take more and more notice of. And if you really apply that kind of as I guess as a bit of a filter over that game against Port Adelaide, I mean, I think he was still the second highest or third highest scoring Eagle for the game. So restrictive side still scored high. I really wasn't that worried about it, and certainly I don't think coaches should be. I mean, I think the other thing to note is that his time on ground was only 66% and he had a score of 108. So, beast.
Yeah,
just wonder how long his soft tissue is going to last, that's all.
Yeah, fingers crossed he can keep putting out these good scores and keep playing well because West Coast do need him in that midfield. Harvey Gallagher, though, Jep, obviously the rookie man that you are, he was a guy that was floated in the preseason, but he was really impressive on the weekend with 90 points. What did you make of his game? And Is it too late? Is he still an option for us to consider?
Yeah, so last week it was Harvey Harrison. This week it was Gallagher against West Coast, having a day out. So, look, it's probably an inflated score because of the opposition. What is he going to be? I think he's going to be, 350-ish. It's probably too much for mine. We're starting to get these. Conway came through. I think Finbar Mally's going to play this week for North with Coleman Jones out as well. So, yeah, there's going to be a bit of movement with other rooks, I would have thought. So, yeah, Gallagher's not one at that price I'd go and jump on.
Yeah. I think with Harvey Thomas being there, I think he's the guy that we all go for, that negative 20 break even already. Beautiful, Tim. We'll move on to the final game on the Sunday before we move to today's game.
Richmond defeated Sydney by 5 points at the MCG. So Tom Lynch hurt his hamstring. Dane Rampe had a bit of tightness there. Sam Banks was the sub and replaced McKelty Lafau in the fourth quarter, who kicked a couple of goals, an impressive little debutant there. And Corey Warner, who was the sub for Sydney, replaced Dane Rampe at halftime.
Yeah. The other thing I forgot to put in the notes as well is if anyone did have Liam Baker out there, he was offered a week for his hit on Lewis Melican as well. So if anyone has him, he would be a trade out now. Tim Taranto, 132. Could he be back? He played really well. Sort of looked back to the Taranto of the first half. So we've probably got to see another couple of weeks, but he's obviously dropped in price. So one to monitor over the next few weeks. Isaac Heaney continued his great one. I'm sure Calvin is very, very happy with how his best mate's going. Another big score from him. Brodie Grundy, Tim, you'd be very, very happy as an owner yourself. 103 was pretty good this week. Had a big last quarter.
Matt Roberts, for the week, though, I think he also had a bit of a slow start, right? I think there was a lot of players that had me worried to begin with, but then came home strong. Yeah, he had actually a big last quarter. I think it was 44 points or something, so he was great. Matt Roberts continues to flourish in that half-back role. Had a few turnovers, but still scored 94, so we don't care about the turnovers. We just care about the points, and as long as he's in the team, that's what we want. Errol Goulden is someone that we'll touch on in a sec. He only got an 83, so a bit of a low score from him. Jaden Short with a 76, so I think could almost be time for him to go if you haven't jumped off him already. And Seth Campbell with a 54 as well. So not sort of just ticking that cash gen over. But Errol Goulden, Jep, so another 83. I think we've probably almost seen now that those lower scores since the Adams and the Parkers that aren't there, do you think that his scoring is going to take an uptick when those guys come back? And is he someone we still, well, obviously he's going to be someone we're going to be looking at, but do you want to see something first with those guys back, or what you thinking with an Errol Goulden? Yeah, so you cut out for a bit there, but that's all right. I'm guessing going to me. He's going to get cheap after his bye. So let's see when he's up and about, gets on a bit of a roll, strings 2 games together. It looks a bit lost for mine. Just not quite coming together. And look, lost is probably the wrong word. More frustrated on field. So, I think it's a watch for sure because we love the discounted premiums.
Yeah, exactly. And James Jordan, Tim, 60. Again, he's done this in every game so far where he's had a very slow start. He's been on sub 30 pretty much every game at half time, but he's managed to scrape his way to a 60 or a 70. He's got West Coast this week, but I think has this score probably solidified for you that he's a trade at his bye in round 5?
Oh, look, I mean, I think he was always going to be a trade at his bye anyway. Yeah. So, I mean, look, once again, 60 is a bit disappointing. I think we were hoping for a little bit more out of him than what's his average, 73. So, probably a little lower than what we were expecting. But, would you rather have James Jordan on field or Darcy Wilson, right, or Harley Reid, right? So I feel a bit better with the James Jordan than I do one of those guys. But hold to the bye and then get off. And then just on Jep's point there as well, I don't know about you, Bales, but I'm rubbing my hands together, man. There are some pretty juicy primos that are dropping in price, getting primed for, after their bye or after, these bye rounds in like Rowan Marshall and Nick Dacos and, and Errol Goulden. I mean, even a Bont, Yeah, thanks. Exactly right. Well, that's what you get for picking a top price player, my friend. But
because people in the group chat keep saying that, but I had spare cash and I'm like, where am I going to use it? And I wanted a big premium.
Well, hey, you can tell them to shut up at the moment. You're undefeated in the Content Creators Cup, right? And unless they are,
that's exactly right.
So look, I think once again we'll just hold Jordan until he's buys.
Yeah, agreed. And we'll move on to the final game, which was today.
Hawthorn defeated by Geelong by 36 points at the CNG. So obviously there were late teams named. A couple of notable mentions in terms of Conway being named at potential R3. And then, of course, Henry Hustlate was also named as well. But their injuries, Lewis looks like he hurt his hamstring, and Watson did a bit of an ankle. Man, he just could not put it together, that Nick Watson today. He had a couple of really great opportunities and choked, but hopefully he'll put it all together pretty soon. And then in terms of subs, Harry Morrison was replaced by Henry Hustlate in the third quarter, and Jack Bowes was replaced by Tom Atkins at three-quarter time. Sorry, the other way around. So Jack Bowes replaced Tom Atkins at three-quarter time. I think I messed that up.
Right, that's all good. It's been a funny podcast, that's for sure. But no, so Mitch Duncan, 106, sort of just keeps putting the scores up, but I don't think we can trust him as an option. Classic. Ollie Dempsey, actually, we'll touch on Ollie Dempsey in a sec. 102, he was really good. Max Holmes with a 94, he was pretty solid. Dylan Moore, someone to keep an eye on, a bit of an underpriced forward that we can consider him maybe in a few weeks' time, potentially even this week if you want. If you're going maybe if it's a Jordan or someone up, but I think Jordan you're probably holding for another week. John Newcomb, 79. That's now 3 games right. If you were holding John Newcomb, credit to you because you've enjoyed a tough watching, but yeah, he's got to go if you didn't trade him. A game like this I thought would have been suited him to a T, but unfortunately not. Cam McKenzie, 76. He's been pretty solid since that round 1 score. I think he put back-to-back, I think it was what he got a 90 on last week, then a 76 this week, so he's pretty good. Jai Clark, good to see him put up a good game with a 76, so that really that might kickstart some cash gen for him. Carl Amon, 74, had a big first quarter, but was pretty much unsighted from then on. But the conditions didn't suit Amon. Neither did they for Sicily, who only got a 70. And he also Massimo D'Ambrosio, who got a 60. So, but Tom Stewart, Tim, had a good game, 110. It went off with a bit of a head knock, but came back on and still put up a solid score. What are your thoughts with him?
My thoughts were, damn, why can't it be concussion? Why can't he be rubbed out for a week? That's horrible to say that, isn't it, right? But that's what it's like when you're a fantasy football coach. But look, I mean, obviously, a good pick. He's had a pretty good start to the year. We know that he had a pretty good run to begin the year as well. But look, I still wonder whether, it seems like every year he manages to find a way to just be a 90, 95 guy. So, I mean, I faded him this year because, look, I thought, he might have a good start. But then, might kind of do what he's done in past years and just kind of trickle back. And, it's a bit of I've held him in past years and it's been a bit of a frustrating hold. So I didn't want to get on him this year. But I think coaches so far will be relatively happy.
Yep. Another good score from him. Moving to Ollie Dempsey, Jep, 102, very good score. I know we were speaking pre-pod that you were saying like the conditions really suited him, and he was able to fill up all the stat lines. What did you make of him, and do you think is it too late for the coaches that haven't got him now? Is it sort of just we got Harvey Thomas there? Are you just sort of going him or some other options?
Yeah, it just doesn't feel right, does it? He'll go up quite a bit in price. Let's do the calcs. But yeah, look, I'm not for it. I think having Harvey Thomas there is handy. But yeah, he'll be about 426 grand. But the interesting thing is he still has a break even a negative 13, so it could suit some like me with Billings. I might decide to do it instead of Thomas. So it's an interesting one. The conditions definitely helped him though, so you've got to take that into consideration.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he was everywhere.
Man, he gets up the ground, doesn't he? He's really good.
Yeah, very good. Geelong have found one in him. So, and then just quickly, Jeff as well, Toby Conway got a 69. Is there a play, if you've got nothing to do, could you look at maybe him as an R3 play? Yeah,
you could. It's just Geelong and their rookies and how they nurse them, and that's kind of why I did pick Dempsey initially. He was the only one I've really missed on. So, yeah, I just don't trust Chris Scott, right? So the rest, especially being a younger, bigger bloke, can he compete against the better ruckman? I thought he did well today, but Lloyd Meek's not exactly top of the list in terms of competition. So I think Reece Stanley was managed. That was the official term. So, yeah, he'd probably get dropped this week. But like I said earlier, it's Finbar Malley, who is the rookie, ruck eligible player. Was not going to set the world on fire with scores. But, yeah, he should come in for North this week.
Yeah, cool. Beautiful. Well, that's the game.
All right. Well, Jep, I know you. Thanks for joining us on Easter Monday. I know you got a family dinner tonight, mate. So I know you got to run. But before you do, mate, firstly, thanks a lot for joining us. Thanks a lot for your insight. And why don't you tell people about where they can find you and if there's anything you want to share or plug with our listeners.
Yeah, so just the +6 pod and at Jeppa DT on X. Yeah, we're gearing up now. I'm calling it upgrade season. I was texting Warnie last night, talking fantasy, and yeah, we both declared it's upgrade season. So really interested to, I'm looking at Flanders and probably took Miller a bit as a discounted premium. It's going to be interesting what coaches do now because they can go one of the two ways, right? So they might not have the cash. They might need to still fix up from what they held for the best 18 and thought, I'll deal with it next week type thing. And, there's still a lot of mid-prices available. We've got the Dempsey emergence, the Harvey Thomas cash cow. And, yeah, there's a lot of ways we can go as fantasy coaches. And this is where the peloton will pull ahead the leaders from the peloton will pull ahead, I suppose.
Yeah, well, look, best 22 week this week. So, a little bit of that tide going out and seeing whether people are naked. And yeah, I mean, look, I think you're right. Coaches that were planning ahead this week will be making an upgrade to a Flanders or a Miller or something like that. Whereas coaches that are still stuck making fix-ups or didn't plan ahead, they might kind of get a week behind on the upgrade cycle.
Yeah, for sure. Look, yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Great to see because, again, there's a lot of coaches doing really well and kudos to them. It's just that long game now, right? So, Bales asked me at the top about the starting Cherry, Grundy and Gawn. You can't really tell. There's so much to iron out in the start of these early bye rounds.
But round 3 as well. It's round 3.
Yeah. Yeah, so you'll be good. I'll see Bales in Adelaide this week. Where
you'll see me too, mate. You'll see me too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and we'll have some drinks and watch about 8 games of footy in a weekend. So it'll be good.
Carnival of footy. It's going to be great. Well, thanks for joining us, mate, and enjoy what little is left of your Easter. We'll have a beer with you next week.
Cheers, lads.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, let's turn our attention to some questions and players that people want to discuss. Bales, you got them there, mate?
So I'm just going to read through the questions on Twitter because I ended up stopping the YouTube live stream because people complain too much. I was trying to find.
You complain too much, we just switch it off.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're not getting it. So no, I'll be re-uploading this as a on for the YouTube people. So if they want to go and watch it, then they can. But first question comes from Blaze. He said, "Thoughts on still trading Bonner out as planned, so I can field the 3 midfield rookies and get Flanders in the forward line, leaving only 1 forward rookie. Are you comfortable with trading a Bonner, Tim, or is that just maybe you got someone else?
I'm not comfortable trading a Bonner. I mean, I think
unless he gets dropped,
sure,
obviously,
right? But I don't think it's going to happen. Look, and even with the potential of maybe a couple of lower scoring weeks coming up. But like I said, I mean, we were talking about him earlier as being potentially one of those competition-winning picks, right? So I don't know that you want to be getting off him right now. If you do need that kind of cash to get up, I would be looking at possibly getting off maybe a Zach Williams or maybe even a Massimo. I mean, even if you only brought him in last week or, maybe there's some other way that you can do it. I know how important it might seem to have those 4 rookies on field, but look, don't underestimate being able to pick the best 3. I mean, look at this week, right? You're able to pick like a Roberts, a McKercher, a Saunders on field and leave a Jeremy Sharp off the field, right? With knowing that his matchup was going to be a bit tougher. And, it's nice to have rookies scoring well and generating cash on your bench as well. So I don't think it's a priority, but look, potentially depending on how your side's looking, it's a possibility, I guess.
Well, the perfect move in a few weeks' time is when Sharp's made a lot of cash. You go Sharp down, and you might be able to go look in another lineup. So
is Flanders that he hasn't really knocked it out of the park, right? It's not like he's been. Just having a quick look at his scores. 92, 87, 119. I mean, that 119. I mean, I guess that was against easy opposition in the Crows, but
yeah, and I think they've had a bit of a all the Crows jokes are coming. Bring them. I'm top 4 content Crows Cup.
Exactly right.
No. But with Flanders, I guess having Richmond, he was obviously a bit down, but Crows obviously had a good game, and the Bulldogs at Mars Stadium. So that's another thing to take into account. Whereas he's got Giants in the Adelaide Hills is a bit tricky as well. But I just think he's going to be sort of that number one forward, or maybe number two if Heaney continues in his midfield role. So I just think he's just a really good a really good get this week. Ben Hawkey said, "Who goes first?" This is interesting with all these again upgrade season. Who goes first out of Reed and Darcy Wilson? So in the form,
I would look. Essendon have been very restrictive to start the season. Okay, so look, not a great score for him obviously this week with a 35. No one likes to see a 35, but. I'm actually a little bit more worried about Harley Reid's fitness and how, the Eagles might handle him. I think I would probably be looking at Harley Reid to get off.
Would you trade, if they had Lazaro on the bench, would you trade Lazaro before those two?
Oh, man. I mean, Lazaro did the best out of all three of them this week, and I don't just mean fantasy-wise. I mean, like, he was playing – he looked good. He looked really good out there. When I say really good for a rookie, right? So
just had a quiet last quarter. I think he's on 54. I think he had a 1 point last quarter, I'm pretty sure, or something like that.
Yeah, so. And look, like I said, I just like the way he looked, and I think he got a fair amount of CBAs. And he's probably going to win that side. I mean, he's only been sub once, has he? Or has he been sub more than once?
He got sub once, which was last week.
Yeah, I'd still go Harley Reid, I think.
Yeah, well, he's very, very popularly owned, so maybe you're getting a leg up on the competition potentially, and that could be something you look at. Corey Blackledge, is Flanders and Thomas, so actually I'll start the other way, Billings and Fife to Flanders and Thomas, are they good trades?
I like Flanders. Thomas, I'm not 100% sure of. It's just a break-even game, really, isn't it?
It depends, I guess, who they're bringing on field, because I'm assuming that they had Billings and Fife. Well, they would have had Billings and Fife on field, so it probably depends what rookie you bring on. Maybe they're bringing on Lazaro. Like, would you be happy to have Lazaro and Flanders on field instead of Billings and Fife? Yeah, so
let me ask you another question, right? For a forward, what is your kind of baseline in terms of what you would hope for out of a rookie? On field,
probably say 50.
Yeah, me too, right?
Just because when you look at those midfield rookies, they're putting up mid-priced scores. Like, they're putting up really good scores. So I think you don't really have a rookie per se in your midfield. Defense, if you've got Blake Howes, then you're probably going to want to fix that up as well, just because of the low score that you can get. So I think with the forward line, I think it's probably a 50. If they put up a 60 plus, that's great. Like, you'd be laughing if that's your one poor score for the weekend, especially with best 18 for the next few weeks. I think 50 for me.
Richmond and Wilson's up against Richmond next week. So look, I'd be happy with like a Wilson or a Lazaro on field. So if you could get one of those two on fields, I think getting Flanders on it would be a great trade.
Yeah, and I think the other thing as well, if you do trade out Reed, I don't think he's going to burn you and put up 100 in a game. I just don't think West Coast. Even Yo had a great game yesterday, and he got a 108. So it's not like he went 120, 130. Like, they're going to struggle still. So I don't think if you get rid of Reed, I don't think it's really going to cost you. And he's not. And hey, if he puts up 100, you can always jump back on him because he's still going to be under 400k. But you probably wouldn't at that point anyway. But so the fantasy pick here. Next question: is Zorko an option given the lack of forward primos if you've already got Flanders, Heaney, and Tom Powell?
Is Zorko an option? Oh God! Look, I mean, you would have to have balls of steel. I mean, he definitely is in terms of his scoring, but I mean, he is liable to injure himself any week. So I think it's way too risky. I wouldn't recommend it for any coaches, but look, maybe there's someone out there who likes to swing for the fences.
Yeah, exactly. Couple more questions here just before we wrap up. Lockie Marks, which two go out of Billings, Jordan, and Fife?
I think with Billings as 30 in his price cycle, you probably it depends on break evens. I'm not sure how they're going to finish up, but I think Billings is maybe the biggest priority there.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it's if you're trading Jordan the following week, then I'd say trade Fife. But if you've got to get rid of two of the next couple of weeks, I'd guess do you go Jordan before Fife?
Yeah, you'd probably Probably.
But you'd want to be holding Jordan this week.
Yeah.
He's got West Coast, then the bye, get a little bit more cash.
Yeah, look, I wonder also what's going to happen to Jordan when Parker and Adams come back in. He might get really squeezed out.
Yeah. I've got a feeling because I know that Adams played VFL on the weekend. Scored just a lazy 94 and a half of football. But I think with West Coast and then a bye, I would imagine that Sydney are probably going to just say Adams get another couple of games in the VFL. I don't know when Parker's back. So I don't think they'll be back this week. So I think Jordan will be fine for one more week and then we can offload him in his bye. So final two questions here. We'll go with Xavier said, do I trade Williams to Bonner by moving Yo back into defence? Obviously, Jet was talking about potentially looking at a Bonner. Could you look at still bringing in a Riley Bonner? Yeah. And you trade Williams to get that done and you'd be happy to put Yo into
the midfield? Look, I think getting off Williams early is a play. But once again, I think like in terms of what we discussed in the pod so far, in terms of being mindful of where your rookies are, being mindful of where your vulnerabilities are. Like we've talked about, you can potentially hold Williams or something like that for the next couple of weeks. But I think I'd take that trade off for sure.
Yeah, and sorry, I meant swapping Yo back into defence.
Yeah.
I was thinking, hang on, Williams, and that doesn't work. Yeah, but yeah, still, that is more than fine. And final question we'll go for is from MJ. He says, keep going with Cherry, Grundy, and Gawn, or trade one to get more points on field.
I think I'd be holding. I think like Jep kind of said is, you kind of made your bed. It's we don't know whether it's a win or a loss yet. I think hold firm. Look, I mean, potentially you're getting the scores on field, you're getting the good cash generation as well. And it's going to be cash gen that not many coaches have. So, I mean, look, Gorney is certainly surprising me. I didn't expect him to be doing so well so early in the year, but, he potentially might be someone you could hold. But I also do see like potentially a bit of diversion in the competition as well once we do hit Grundy's bye, because we've kind of got all these options at the moment, but I think from there you might see some coaches go to a Ryan Marshall, and then we'll see how like a Romar and a Grundy kind of compare over a fairly long period of time. Right? It's going to be until we're at the end of the season, so you might be able to make up the differences there, and the cash gen you've got in the meantime, can certainly make your team much better.
Yep, exactly. Beautiful. Well, that will do us for the questions. And we'll
excellent. All right. Well, thanks to everyone for joining us. And as always, a real special thanks to those of us joining live. Apologies for those who tuned in on YouTube with the technical issues there. Right, but we'll get that sorted, and hopefully we won't have it next time as well. And in particular, also thanks to those of you that sent in questions. We love it when you guys send in questions. And of course, you can send in your questions to us during the week on X, and you can please give us a follow at AFL Fantasy Fans if you want to do that. And, of course, don't forget to tune in each week after the final siren of every round for our live Twitter space and live on YouTube as well. And then, of course, we've also got our pre-lockout chats that we do on Fridays. Typically we do them at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Western Standard Time, but I think there's going to be a change to – is there a change to daylight savings now? So it'll be 4 p.m. Western Standard Time. Is it?
No, there won't be. I don't know when daylight savings finishes.
Isn't it at the end of the month?
But because – I'm not sure. But because it's Gather Round this week, we'll be at the live show.
Oh, that's right.
Heffen and everyone. So that'll be there. So we'll let everyone know on the socials when we're doing it. But it would more than likely potentially be a Saturday, like sort of midday potential one if we do one.
Well, give us a follow on X.
Try and fit one in there.
Stay tuned. Yeah. We'll let you know. We always send out a post letting everyone know when these live chats are going to be. And of course, if you miss us live, you can always tune in and listen to these spaces at the AFL Fantasy Fanatics podcast, wherever you get your podcast. We would love it if you just subscribe and give us a 5-star rating and review as well. And of course, to all the coaches out there, hope you guys had a great Easter. Hope you didn't eat too much chocolate. Best of luck with your research for the week, and we will catch you again at the same time next week to recap all the games from Gather Round.
See ya.